Hey everyone, Al the Psych here. Doing a video today on a book called The Power of Habit. This is by Charles Duhigg from 2012. As usual, I'm going to be adding my own thoughts into it, so if you want to get just the pure form, you're going to have to read the book. Okay. And as usual, this is for informational purposes only. All right, so let's get started. When habits are developed, mental activity decreases. That was one of the little gems, and that just kind of makes sense. When things become automatic, like riding a bike, you stop thinking about, yeah, okay, I've got my foot on the pedal, I'm holding the handlebars. You know, if you remember way back when you were a kid learning to ride a bike, you were thinking about everything, and then as it gets more automatic, you don't even think about that. Same thing as driving a car. You know, you put your foot on the accelerator, you put your foot on the brake. It's just kind of automatic. You don't think about it. So yeah, the mental activity just decreases in that regard. Totally makes sense. Now the habit loop, as he defines it, he says cue, routine, and reward. In my mind, I kind of like to switch the word reward with reinforcer. Since reinforcer is, you know, something that is just going to increase the likelihood of that behavior continuing. Like I said, I always put in my own 2 cents in these videos, so you know, go straight to the source if you want to get exactly what he said. Anyway, over time, this loop becomes more and more automatic. So when a habit emerges, the brain stops fully participating in decision making. You know, it's just happening. All right. Now, part of getting rid of a habit means to find a new routine. So you can't just kind of like will yourself out of a habit. I mean, you can try and you might have some success temporarily. But this is kind of like, you know, generally accepted. If you really want to make a change, you're going to have to change that that routine. Okay, so you replace one routine with another routine. So I remember when my dad was trying to stop smoking, what he did is he replaced smoking, an oral activity. He replaced smoking with eating, another oral activity. Did put on a lot of weight, but actually he did stop smoking. Okay. So another thing to know, habits never actually completely disappear. They're kind of still lurking back there. They're still encoded in us. And then they can actually show up again. And the author mentions, you know, especially under times of stress, you may revert back to that old default. Okay. Now, the habits that we have, the routines, do help us get through the day. And I should point this out, like, you know, habits aren't necessarily good or bad. It kind of just depends. Okay, they're there. So you think about the routines, the habits that we have during the day. It just kind of helps us get through all the small minutia that we would have to be thinking about if we didn't get it to be in an automatic state. You know, I think of, you know, just getting up in the morning and I just kind of go through, you know, my routine, you know, contact lenses, shave, you know, wash my face, feed the animals, have breakfast. You know, everything's just automatic. I don't have to really think about, okay, what am I going to do next? Every little step. It just makes things go a lot smoother. Same thing, like I mentioned before, with driving a car. Things become automatic, and you know, you just respond more quickly than having to think about things. It would just be overwhelming to have to think about every single little step that you do during the course of a day. Now, habits can happen without our conscious intent. So my example would be like if I work out with a friend because he strongly urged me to lift weights with him, and even if I've never lifted weights before, but then I start working out without him on a regular and frequent basis. And maybe because I've received a reward or a reinforcer, like by the endorphins kicking in when I'm working out, and then maybe the other reinforcer would be like, oh, I noticed that my muscles are getting bigger. Now I'm actually lifting more than I used to, and I've got all these reinforcers that are kicking in. So I've developed a type of loop without consciously intending anything. Um, so the cue could be multifaceted. Maybe I see the gym on the way home from work, or maybe I feel muscle soreness, a couple days afterwards, or maybe I see all these workout commercials on TV, triggering that idea. Oh yeah, working out. Yeah. Um, Now, here's the thing. When you get to the point of craving, now this is anticipating that reward or the reinforcer. Uh, Breaking a habit becomes much more difficult. So, and this is where big concerns happen with regard to like gambling and eating problems and drug problems. Okay. So, now of course the cravings can be uh, beneficial. Like I talked before, if you're regularly working out, lifting weights, or you're regularly doing your aerobic exercises, or your mindfulness routine, or you regularly uh, study at school because you get the payoff of getting good test scores, things like that. Again, there's a flip side to habits. Now, how to change a habit? Um, you're going to have to change the routine, like I said before. You'll have much more difficulty if you just try to stop without doing anything. So if you have a problem with overeating, and I overeat because it relaxes me, like stress eating, uh, then I have a cue to eat when feeling stressed. So the routine should be changed to an activity that will help reduce stress. Okay, so you understand the connection here. So I would do something such as deep breathing, or maybe some mindfulness activity, or progressive muscle, relaxation activities. So the changed routine still gives the same reinforcer, stress reduction in this case. Okay, so that's important. So if we're going to change the routine, um, you still want to get the same reinforcer, the same reward. Okay. Now, one other point from the book that I think is important is when people were able to successfully replace a routine for an unwanted one, if stressors in life got too overwhelming, sometimes the individuals tended to fall back to the old routine. Okay, and the author, gives the example of going back to drinking after being sober for a while. Um, Now, but what helps counteract this, they found, what's part of AA. He talks a little bit about AA in the book. He says what counteracts this falling back, if you're sober and then all of a sudden you get stressed and you take a drink. What counteracts doing that is learning to believe in something. And apparently the researchers that have looked into this said it did not have to be a belief in God. This is according to the researchers. Okay, but they had to believe in something. Now, in my estimation, again, I like to throw in my perspective on things. In my estimation, I interpret this as having hope. Okay, so I liken this to working with patients experiencing trauma. So one of the most important things therapists can do is to instill a sense of hope with their patients or with their clients. So it's really important for the therapist to believe that the client can and will be successful. And so if the therapist is, putting this out and really believes it, the client's gonna pick up on this. The client's gonna think, yeah, I can do that. And through a lot of the trauma seminars that I've been involved in and watched, and the readings that I've done, that idea of hope is huge. Okay, so that kind of puts everything in a quick little nutshell. Like I said, if you want to get all the details and you want to get it without my interpretation about things, then go ahead and read the book. Okay, but for now we are done.